I wonder if our YouTube is working. Yeah, it looks like it just started working. Interesting. Okay. How's it going in Atlanta, Terry? Boker Tov, Mickey, Chana, Siegelstein, and Andy, I'm sure. Marty Knopp, good morning. Boker Tov. Harvey Boker Tov from Chicago, probably. So, folks, what do you think? Should we open this Shabbos or not? We're about to open up our shul this Shabbos, and we're just wondering if there's anything we missed yet. Any thoughts, comments, feedback? We'd love to hear from you. Okay. Today's Torah study was made possible by Terry Brandsweig, a newcomer to our shul. Welcome through the quarantine because you live in Atlanta, and when we went virtual is how you connected with us. I don't remember who it was that connected you with us, but I'm thrilled that you are with us. And you've dedicated today's Torah study in loving honor of your mother, Gloria Brand, on the occasion of her 81st birthday. Mazel Tov to your mother. Zu lange gesunde Jahren, many long, healthy, and happy years. And may today's Torah study bring much merit and blessing to her for gesund health, parnasa, livelihood, and nachas, which is untranslatable. While we're waiting for our friends to join us here, I'm going to start off with the Hayom Yom, which is very much appropriate to what we're about to learn today. We're going to be learning about Shavuos. Shavuos is the festival that begins tomorrow night. It is one of the three major Jewish festivals. It is the most famous, unknown Jewish holiday. So we're going to learn all about it today. Shavuos is an opportune time. This is the Hayom Yom for today, 4th of Sivan, the 48th day of the counting of the Omer. Shavuos is an opportune time to achieve everything in improving Torah study and avoid the divine service marked by fear of God. And also to strive into Shuvah concerning Torah study without interference by the accusing Satan, just like the time of shofar sounding on Rosh Hashanah and the holy day of the fast of Yom Kippur. What this means is that Shavuos is an extraordinary time to be able to fix our relationship with our lover in heaven, with God, through our medium of communication, which is Torah. The Satan is kind of off duty on Shavuos. That's pretty much what it means. We've learned about the Satan yesterday in Tanya. Satan is a holy angel of God whose job it is to confuse us and to mislead us and to lead us astray. But the Satan somehow is off duty on Shavuos. God confuses the Satan on Shavuos just like he confuses him on Rosh Hashanah when it comes to the blowing of the shofar, when we're securing an extraordinary blessing upon ourselves and our families for the year ahead. So however you've messed up, however you've neglected to serve God through Torah in all the days until now. What was, let it go. Just let it slide, let it go. Today's a new day. It's a new Yom Tov. Shavuos is the time to face God eye to eye and say, God, I'm looking forward to getting to know you on a far more intimate level. And I know that the way to do that is through the study of Torah. We study Torah not because we want to know how to behave or what to do. We study Torah because Torah is God's wisdom, and God and his wisdom are one. When we study Torah, we are becoming intimately bound with God in a way that we cannot ever else become intimately bound with him. It's like love of your spouse. When you're deeply in love and looking deeply eye to eye, deep into each other's eyes, there's that bond which is being formed that has no form or shape or dimension. It's just pure oneness. That's love. We can do that with God through Torah. And that's Tanya chapter 5. So that's certainly a nice introduction to today's study, which is all about the festival of Shavuos, which is, again, a Jewish holiday that not many people know about. Pesach is got a lot of PR about the matzah. Sukkot gets a lot of PR because of the camping, the whole camping theme. Problem with Sukkot is that it comes right after Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. People are like zoned out from the high holidays, unfortunately. But Shavuos is like nishtahin and nishtaher. It's neither here nor there. It's like you eat cheesecake, you stay up all night. What's really going on over here? We're remembering something that happened. There's no real manifestation, like a matzah, like a sukkah. What do you do on Shavuos? You study Torah. Let's talk about this. Let's get deep into it. Miriam, welcome to you. To Graciela, Mickey said yes. I'm not sure to what. Oh, he says yes to opening the shul. Hannah Siegelstein says yes to opening the shul. Okay. Graciela, good morning. Terry, thank you. Debbie Goodman connected us. Wonderful. And once again, today's Torah study is dedicated by Terry Zweig from Atlanta in honor of her mother, Gloria, on the celebration of her 81st birthday. I really want to thank the community for endowing the daily Torah study. I don't think we've missed a single day of Torah study being endowed since we launched the project about 2 weeks ago. Thank you to our president for giving us the first week to get it started. But we've really managed to turn our Kiddush sponsorship into our Torah sponsorship, which for the souls of our loved ones, for the living and the deceased, as we learned last night in that magnificent session with Rabbi Manas Friedman, the connection for our loved ones can be, their souls can be elevated and blessed through Torah study as much and even more than it can happen through the saying of Kaddish or the dedication of a Kiddush. So I want to thank everybody really for taking the time to dedicate and endow our daily Torah study and connect your loved ones with the power of Torah. You can do that. You can dedicate your birthday, your special birthdays, your anniversaries, your yahrzeits by doing it online at jewishgardens.com/donate. That's jewishgardens.com/donate. Or you can do that on by calling Ashley at 561-624-2223. That's 561-624-2223. I'm just going through the comments here on Facebook before I start. Lucy says, hello, Rabbi. Good morning, Lucy. One of the nurses in the community. Thank you for your tremendous work. Helen and Warren, Boker Tov, and Ed Hockman also switching to YouTube. Adrian says, good morning. Ron says, good. Boker Tov. Adrian says, Andrew says, let's do Shavuos service, including Yizkar. Okay, that's right now the plan. We're just doing final thinking on that. And that's it. We are ready to roll. Let's do this. Okay, so I'm doing today halacha. Halacha is Jewish law. It's Jewish practice. We've done a lot of gates of trust, which is philosophy. We're doing meditation and prayer, which we may or may not get to at the end of today's session, which is all about prayer. It's about Hebrew. Tremendous following on that department. Thank God. We're doing Talmud, which is the study of Talmud, and we're doing something else, Tanya, which is, of course, Hasidic philosophy, Chabad wisdom. Somebody asked me the other day, he wants to be a Lubavitcher. How do I be a Lubavitcher? A Chabadnik. I said, you study Hasidus, you be a Lubavitcher. That's a Chabadnik. A thief is somebody who steals, not somebody who can steal. And a murderer is somebody who murders, not somebody who can murder. And a scholar is somebody who learns, not somebody who can learn. And a Chabadnik is somebody that knows Chabad, that studies Chabad, and not somebody that knows what it is. So with that introduction, I'd like to introduce today something which our millionaires have been requesting. We've been learning about this once a week at least, is Jewish law. So halacha today we're doing, I wonder where Rob Berger is. Rob Berger. Don't see him. Okay, I hope he's okay. Anyways, in Jewish law, we're going to learn today all about the holiday of Shavuos. Probably going to take us today and tomorrow. In the Jewish calendar, a festival is known as a Yom Tov. What does a Yom Tov mean? Yom Tov means a good day, a day which is good. The key difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov is that Shabbos is inherently a holy day. Shabbos was holy from the very, very beginning of time. Every seventh day was chosen, was sanctified by God. But Yom Tov means an ordinary day that now becomes holy. That's why it's called a Yom Tov. It's an ordinary day. It's a Yom, a regular day, which becomes a Yom Tov, a good day, which ordinarily would be a regular day. When a weekday becomes holy because of the festival, thus a Yom Tov transforms mundane into holy. Now we're talking about Yom Tov of Shavuos. It's coming upon us. This year it falls on Friday, May 29th, and Shabbos, May 30th. It's also known as Man Matan Toratenu, the time of the giving of our Torah. The anniversary that we received the Torah 3,332 years ago, which means that this year on Shavuos, we're entering the 3,000th 333rd year of our intimate bond with God. That's an interesting number. I wonder if Mashiach's coming. 3333. That's a lot of threes to be in a marriage. It's very interesting, that Shavuos celebrates the time when God gave us the Torah. But we don't celebrate the time that we received the Torah. God gave it to us. You may or may not know the story that when God gave the Torah, he first sought out all the nations of the world. He offered it to the Arabs, and they said, "What's written in the Torah?" And he said, "Don't steal." And they said, "Well, that's too much for us. Sorry, we don't want it." Then he went to another nation, and they said, "What's in it?" They said, "Don't kill." And the nation said, "Sorry, but that's our way of life. We have to." And he went through all the nations, and nobody wanted to hear about. Nobody wanted to receive the Torah because of what was in it. He went to the Jews, and he asked them, "Do you want the Torah?" And they said, "Na'aseh v'nishma," we will do, and then we will listen. We don't care what it says inside there, the contract, because it's from you. The answer is yes, and later on we'll see what it says, and we are pre-committing to whatever it says in there. Such was the love that the Jewish people had. There was a sense of overwhelming love. In another medrash, the medrash tells us that there was something else that was overwhelming at the time of Matan Torah. God actually was pretty frustrated, apparently, with the nation. So what he did was he took the mountain of Sinai and he lifted it up and he put it on top of the heads of the entire Jewish nation. We're underneath the mountain. As it says explicitly in the verse, they stood vayamdu tachat, they stood underneath the mountain. And now he says, "Okay, guys, Jewish people, do you want the Torah, or should I just let go of the mountain?" And that will be the end of it. So we were like, yeah, of course we want the Torah. It was forced upon us. Not many people know that, but the Torah was forced upon us. We were not really given a choice. We were overwhelmed. There was an overwhelming love, but there was also an overwhelming death threat. That if you don't accept the Torah, then you're going to be dead. In any event, that explains why. Few things. It explains why, first of all, we celebrate the Shavuos, the time of giving the Torah, not the time of receiving the Torah. I wonder if anybody here can tell me, when do we celebrate the time of receiving the Torah? Because it's not on Shavuos. I wonder if anybody here can post that answer. So, hi, Deborah. By the way, I know it sounds pretty shocking that God gave us the Torah by holding the mountain on top of our heads. But one of the reasons that God did that is because our commitment to God was totally involuntary. So, just like the bris happens when you're 8 days old, your covenant with God happens when you're 8 days old. So that way it's irrational and involuntary. It's not a covenant that you can ever say, actually I'm changing my mind. By having a commitment that was irrational and involuntary, it's unconditional. You're never able to say, well, if I knew this, then I would have never agreed. If I knew that detail, I would never have agreed. It's an unconditional commitment. There's no way out. There's no way out. And that's why you can't convert out of Judaism. You can't convert out of Judaism. You can act like a Buddhist. You can behave like a monk. You can, I don't know what. You can tell yourself till the cows come home that you're now a Muslim, but you're a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. That's the rule. You're born a Jew, you die a Jew. There's no way out because we came in an unconditional way. Therefore, we never are able to leave. When do we celebrate? I see no answer here to when we celebrate the receiving of the Torah. Andy, I'm surprised you didn't know this one. We do that on Purim. Purim is the time when the Jewish people had every out. If they would have abandoned their faith, Haman would have left us alone, but they refused to do so. They remained loyal to the covenant, to God, knowing that they were putting their lives knowing full well they were putting their lives in danger. And because they remained loyal to their faith, therefore the Megillah says, Kiemu v'kiblu haYehudim. They fulfilled and received. The Jews fulfilled and received. And the Talmud says, Kiemu v'kiblu, they fulfilled and received, to mean they fulfilled what they had already received. Now, on Purim, almost 1,000 years after the Torah was given on Mount Sinai, now they fulfilled what they had already received. Now they accepted what they had received. And therefore, Purim is the time when we celebrate our receiving of the Torah. Good morning to my mother-in-law, to Shviger. Nice to see you here. Been a little while. Welcome. So Shavuos, we celebrate the time of giving the Torah. This is a conversation I was having with my 9-year-old last night, Rivkele and Racheli. Very, very cute. They were proudly telling me about all the names of the Yom Tov. And we were having a conversation about this. So we were saying, why is it called the Festival of Giving the Torah? And we had a chat about the fact that we received the Torah on Mount Sinai. God gave us the Torah on Mount Sinai, but we didn't receive it until, we didn't accept it, so to speak, until Purim, which is the celebration of our commitment, our undying commitment, and exhibiting that we truly deserved to receive this Torah. Okay, before God gave us the Torah, there was a barrier between heaven and earth. And this is fundamental stuff, friends. Fundamental stuff on the novelty of Shavuos, the extraordinary achievement, which is the festival of Shavuos, why it's such an incredibly joyous day, and why Shavuos is one of the 3 pilgrimage festivals, one of the 3 major Jewish festivals, which has literally changed the course of history in the most unbelievable way. Right here. Before God gave us the Torah, there was a barrier between heaven and earth. It was impossible to be truly connected to God while living an earthly material lifestyle. Hashamayim, Shamayim Lashem. The heavens are the heavens of God. The Aretz Natan Livnei Adam, and the earth was given to mankind. There was a barrier. Physical was unholy. Spiritual was holy. God lives in the heavens. God does not live in the earth. Whoever was physical was separate from God. Whoever was up there in the spiritual realms was connected with God, and that's the way it was, right? You couldn't have any holiness down here. Hi, Daniel. Morning. You couldn't have any holiness down in this physical world. That's just the way it worked. Came Matan Torah, came the festival of Shavuos, and now an earth-shattering revelation takes place, quite literally. The Torah tells us, Vayered Havaya al Har Sinai, and Hashem descended on Mount Sinai. For the very first time in 2,448 years since the beginning of the world. 2,448 years. God reveals himself in this world. Wow! Suddenly, God was revealed in the physical realm. The barrier was broken. The iron curtain was torn down. The glass ceiling was shattered. When God descended from the heavens to the earth and gave us his heavenly gift, the Torah, he lifted this barrier. He now made it possible for us humans to have a genuine relationship with God. From this moment on, anything we touch turns holy. From this moment on, any mitzvah that we do with a physical object becomes saturated with holiness. So Dan just joined us, right? Dan Geiker. So you may have noticed us on television the other day. We had a beautiful segment. Thank you, Dan, for arranging that. Our relationship, our business endeavor recently started when I was putting up a mezuzah on Dan's brother's house, Jason and his fiancée. I was putting up a mezuzah on their house via Zoom. What's a mezuzah? A mezuzah is you're taking a cow's hide with ink on it, ink which is made out of vegetables or plants, and you put it together, you put it on a wall. What now happens is that not only the parchment and the ink, but the very house, the doorpost, the room becomes holy. That is something which is a novelty of the festival of Shavuos, when God revealed himself on Mount Sinai in this physical world and made it possible for us to sanctify this physical world through our deeds. Up until that moment, we couldn't do such a thing. Up until that moment, this world was separate from God, was a no-fly zone for God. Once the Torah was given, every single mitzvah that we do, you'll see is involving physical objects. Other religions, they shun food. Ramadan, the Muslims, for a whole month, they don't eat. The Christians, they don't get married. The priests don't get married. They remain celibate. Monks up there in the Far East, they do vows of silence. We Jews, we don't stop talking, we don't stop eating, we don't stop drinking, we don't stop celebrating, we make money, we give tzedakah, we engage in this physical world. Why? Because for us, the purpose is not to be spiritual. For us, the purpose is to be holy. What does it mean to be holy? Holy and spiritual are two very, very different things. If God wanted us to be spiritual, he would have made us angels. God wants us to be physical. That's why he created us like this. He wants us to make for him a home in this physical world. And that's why when we take a parchment and turn it into a mezuzah, when we take a wheat stalk and turn it into a matzah or a challah, when we take a $100 bill and turn it into tzedakah, when we take a fire station and turn it into a shul, when we take your dining room and turn it into a place where you celebrate Shabbos and Yom Tov, or your office and turn it into a place where you can daven with tefillin, then all of the above become holy, become a place where God is welcome. And that, my friends, is the novelty of the festival of Shavuos. It's what gave us Jews our mission statement in this world. Until then, we were pretty much nomadic vagabonds wandering around without a purpose, without a mission. It was only once the Torah was given that now our mission is clear. We are here to sanctify this physical world by infusing the physical world with the presence of God, by making it holy. This is what it means to be Or LaGoyim, a light unto the nations, to bring the light of God into this physical world, not just marching with Martin Luther King. Why didn't Hashem force the Torah on the other nations? Good question, Warren and Helen. I think the answer to that question is because God knew that the Jews were going to receive the Torah. We are the chosen people. We were chosen long before the Torah was given, long before we ever agreed to receive the Torah. The reason why God offered it to the other nations is so that when Mashiach comes, the nations shouldn't complain, well, you didn't offer it to us. He did offer it to them, and they rejected it. But we were the chosen people long before the Torah was ever given. If we received the Torah on Shavuos, but did not receive it until Purim, 950 years later, did we obey the Torah for those years? The answer is yes. But it wasn't part of us. It was like forced upon us. It wasn't really, we hadn't exhibited a true commitment to it, Mickey, until the Torah, until the festival of Shavuos, when we really were able to exhibit our worthiness and our real acceptance of the Torah. Until then, I think we were like in a bit of a shock. Listen, if God came to you and he offered you some gift, you'd probably be like a deer in the headlights for about 950 years until you kind of work things out. That's kind of what happened. Listen, it's a shock and awe revelation. Let's not discount the intensity of the emotion of the moment. How did Hashem actually offer the Torah to other nations? Who did he speak to? So, Warren, it's a little anthropomorphic concept here. Did he offer it to their spokesperson up in heaven? Did he offer it to their angel? Probably. That's probably what happened. But I didn't think it was a physical encounter. All right? Good. Let's keep on going. We're going through the philosophy a little bit here of Shavuos. Very important stuff. We are taught that Jewish festivals don't merely celebrate ancient events. They also reenact these events on a spiritual level accordingly. Each year in Shavuos, God issues the Torah to us and you. Are you willing to receive the Torah this year? The blessing we wish each other before Shavuos is Kabbalah Satayra B'Simcha V'Pnimius. May you receive the Torah with joy and with inwardness. That's an interesting word, inwardness. I think it means with true feeling. May you receive the Torah this year with joy and with true feeling, with deep connection, with depth, with joy and with depth. Yeah, that's good. May you receive the Torah with joy and with depth. That's the blessing we bless each other. Are you willing to receive the Torah this year? Or are you just going to have a drive-by kind of, Shavuos kind of experience? That depends on you. That's why we stay up all night long on Thursday night to study Torah. All night long we stay up, we study Torah, and we demonstrate our commitment to the Torah. We'll see, coming up. This means that he expands and deepens our ability to grasp and to internalize the Torah. When God gave us the Torah on Mount Sinai, he asked for a guarantor. The Jews offered their teachers and their elders, but God declined. They suggested their children, and only then God accepted. Only our children can assure that we will observe the Torah in future generations. It is, therefore, vital that the guarantors be present when the Torah is given. The Rebbe encouraged all Jewish children of all ages to attend and listen to the reading of the Ten Commandments on this day. Unfortunately, this year that's going to be a problem. Because this year, obviously, even if the shuls do actually open, it's going to be without the children for pandemic reasons. So this year, God wants the children to receive the Torah at home. How do you do that? I want you to go to jewishgardens.com/10. That's TEN. jewishgardens.com/10 to be able to receive the Torah this year with your own children and with your own grandchildren in your own home. Normally, you'll receive the Torah in shul, but there's no reason you can't receive the Torah this year at home. Print out the special printout that we prepared for you at jewishgardens.com/TEN10. And we're asking you to spend 10 minutes on the 10 commandments at 10 a.m. on Friday morning. 10 minutes on the 10 commandments at 10 a.m. on Friday morning to receive the Torah anew. That's jewishgardens.com/10. Please print that out right now so that you can have it ready for Yom Tov. When our ancestors were asked if they would accept the Torah, they replied, Nai seven Ishma, we will do, and then we will try to understand. With this, they pledged to obey the commandments regardless of and before they heard or understood its reasons. This kind of obedience bound them to not just to the commandments, but to the commander-in-chief himself, to God. On this day, we dwell on our ancestors' response and we strive to adopt it ourselves. That's the kind of commitment that we're looking for right now. That's the kind of commitment that we want to show God, that we are committed not only to him because he's a cool guy or because he's powerful, but because we're committed to him. Imagine you said to your spouse, I'll stick with you because, you're making money, or because you're beautiful, or because I'm okay with you right now. No. That's not what you want a spouse wants. Yeah, you want to say, I'm committed to you because I'm committed to you, because of who you are. Fair weather or fine weather makes no difference. I'm always with you. That's the kind of commitment that you want to be showing to the person that you love. In ancient Israel, all Jews would make pilgrimages to the temple 3 times a year. That's why it's called the 3 pilgrimage festivals: Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. You'd literally get on a plane, go to Jerusalem. The men, at least the men, would go over the age of Mitzvah, spend Yom Tov over there, and come back to their families. Thus, Shavuos is one of the holidays that all Jews celebrated in unison, basking in the glow of the divine presence. The name Shavuos, what does the name Shavuos mean? It means weeks. Why? Because the Torah doesn't give us a date for the festival of Shavuos. It says count 7 weeks after the Shabbos. That's quite a code to be able to identify a date of a Jewish holiday. I mean, other Jewish holidays, it says the 15th of the 7th month, or it says the 10th of the 7th month, or the 15th of the 1st month. I mean, the Torah gives us specific instructions. When it comes to Shavuos, it's very, very convoluted. Count 7 weeks from the morrow of the Sabbath, right? I spoke about this in my lecture on JLI on Sunday night, that there's no way to identify the date of the Jewish festival of Shavuos if you're only using the written Torah. Because if you're only using the written Torah, you'll say, well, it's the day after Shabbos, which means Sunday, and therefore count 7 weeks from Sunday, but I have no idea which Sunday to count from. It's the oral Torah, the Talmud, that tells us that the Shabbos means the day of rest. The day after Shabbos is talking about the first day of Pesach. And you have to count 7 weeks from the first day of Pesach, and that's how you get to Shavuos. In other words, there's no way to identify the date of Shavuos without using the oral Torah. So that when we come to receive the Torah in Shavuos, we'll realize that it's not only the written Torah that we're receiving in Shavuos, it's also the oral Torah that we're receiving in Shavuos. God gave us 2 Torahs, the written Torah and the oral Torah. The proof is in the pudding. You couldn't even identify the date of Shavuos without turning to the oral Torah for guidance and direction, right? That was something which I taught on Sunday night. If you want that full class, you can find it on facebook.com/myjli/live. facebook.com/myjli/live. That is our class, was called The Convert and the Creed. The authenticity of the oral Torah. Okay? I'd like to welcome my friends from up north. Mendy Mangel is the Chabad of Cherry Hill, the rabbi there. And Shmaya Futavas, my cousin from New York. Good to have you with us, joining us on Facebook and on YouTube. Good. So we're carrying on today with the study of Shavuos. So why is it that the Yom Tov is called weeks? Because the Torah instructs us to count each day for 7 weeks, beginning from the second night of Passover. That's the day after the Shabbos, the day after the first day of Pesach. And to celebrate Shavuos, the festival of weeks, at the conclusion of these weeks, Shavuos is thus the culmination of a 7-week preparation process. For 7 weeks, we count each day in anticipation of receiving the Torah. It's the most exciting time of the year. We're preparing for our wedding, so to speak, and prepare ourselves emotionally and spiritually for this momentous occasion. After the passage of 7 weeks, God bestows the gift of the Torah upon us on this day. So that is the philosophy of Shavuos, friends. Just to explain to you the context of what's going on over here. And with that introduction, now we can get into it and get a better grip on the who, what, when, where, and why, and how of the festival of Shavuos. If you have any questions so far, please do post. Helen is asking as a side note, as I don't understand what you're saying, Helen, please complete the sentence. I'll be able to answer your question. Okay, good. So moving forward, so who celebrates Shavuos? Preparing for Yom Tov, it is important that we each seek out opportunities to personally prepare for Yom Tov. We shouldn't rely on others to get it done, even if we don't ordinarily handle domestic affairs. When we involve others personally in the preparations, we honor the Yom Tov. The more we do it, the more we do, the better. So, for example, there was a sage in the Talmud who always made sure to put out the candles or to sweep the floor before Shabbos, before Yom Tov, because he wanted personally to be engaged in the mitzvah, right? My father would always prepare the Shabbos candles for my wife. He still does it. For my mother, I'm sorry. My father prepares the candles for my mother because he always wanted to make sure to be personally involved in preparing for Shabbos. Preparations usually begin several days before Yom Tov, but the primary day for Yom Tov preparation is the day before Yom Tov, otherwise known as Erev Yom Tov. That's tomorrow. When we prepare an Erev Yom Tov, we make it apparent that our shopping and cleaning is in honor of Yom Tov rather than just regular housework. However, starting earlier is advisable. Maybe there might not be enough time in one day, and the stores might carry a better selection a few days earlier. Right? So what do you want to buy for Shavuos? What are we looking for? Shopping for Yom Tov, a suggested shopping list includes dairy dishes. We'll discuss later. So there's a mitzvah to rejoice on Yom Tov. In order to facilitate extra joy, several practices are encouraged. Number one, the dishes should be more lavish than a usual Shabbos menu to make it more special. Okay, therefore plan your menu and purchase your ingredients accordingly. In addition, you have to make sure to have wine, meat. It's very important to have meat. A lot of people are confused about this. In Shavuos, we eat dairy. But dairy, we'll explain why we eat dairy later on, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. But we eat dairy on Shavuos, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't eat meat, because you have to eat meat on the Yom Tov. So what we do is we eat dairy on Shavuos, like after davening. And then when we come home, we have lunch, which is meat, because you have to wait an hour after dairy. So what you do is you have dairy first, and then you have your meat. But if you have your meat first, you have to wait 6 hours to have dairy. So first have your dairy meal, wait 1 hour, and then you can have your meat. You should buy gifts of new clothing and jewelry to the women and girls in the household to make it special for them. This is important. And also sweets and treats for the children. It's got to be something. Yom Tov should be a time when the kids look forward. So obviously you have to prepare and cook the Yom Tov dishes of your choice. Remember, on Yom Tov, you are allowed to cook on Yom Tov for the Yom Tov from a pre-existing flame. That's very important to remember that. It is customary to bake challah on Friday. Now, we also do want to make sure to send food to families in need, so they too can experience the Yom Tov, especially this year when it's difficult to invite people to our homes. Can't do social distancing, right? Now, what about preparing the home? All the tasks that we do to clean and prepare our homes and ourselves for Shabbos are also done in preparation for the Yom Tov. This includes personal grooming, cleaning the house, adorning and decorating the house. There's a custom also before Shavuos to adorn our home and synagogue with decorative trees and flowers in honor of the festival of Shavuos. Why do we do this? We know that when the Torah was given on Mount Sinai, it was in the middle of the desert. It wasn't very pretty. God miraculously made the mountain sprout beautiful botanical gardens. Mount Sinai became a stunning mountain of gardens in the middle of the desert. So that's one reason that we adorn our home with flowers. Another reason, this is my favorite reason, is because our relationship with God is a lot like a garden. A garden takes hard work in order to make it beautiful. You know, you gotta pressure clean. You gotta do all the gardening and all that mow the lawn and take out the weeds. It's a lot of work. And if you want to destroy the garden, just let it be by itself. Just leave it alone. Our relationship with God is the same thing. You can't just rest on your laurels and say, yeah, it's going to work out by itself. Receiving the Torah is a commitment. It means you have to study the Torah every single day. You got to actually work at it. And if you want to ruin this relationship, then just don't do anything. Just leave it locked up in the cupboard, right? So that's the meditation of a garden, to teach us that it's going to take hard work, but it's well worth it. It's like a marriage, In a marriage, the same thing. If you work hard on your marriage with courage, with wisdom and humility, you'll be successful. But if you just leave it be and just let it slide by itself, it's going to self-destruct. Think of a disciplined football player, a European football player who wakes up every morning at 5:30 and he does his push-ups and his pull-ups and his running and is practicing for 5 hours a day, or a pianist or something. They don't let their talent just work it out by itself. They work very, very diligently on nurturing their talent, and that's how they become world stars. But if you think you're going to just let your brain store your talent all by itself and somehow it's going to magically appear, that's a very big mistake. And that's the reason that we adorn our homes with gardens and our shuls that go with flowers before the festival of Shavuos. The trees remind us to pray for our fruit-bearing trees, because God makes judgment about the productivity of fruit-bearing trees on Shavuos, like a Jewish Arbor Day. Okay. Now, something very important to note is that this year, Shavuos is adjacent to Shabbos. What happens when Shavuos is adjacent to Shabbos is that we run into a problem whenever Yom Tov is adjacent to Shabbos. You're running into a problem of preparing from Yom Tov for Shabbos. So we have to do something called an Eruv Tafshilin. It's a special ritual. It takes about 2 minutes, but it's important to explain what it is. An Eruv Tafshilin, you'll actually find this in your prayer book, just to show you where it is. In case you have a prayer book, I hope that you do, because for social distancing purposes, everyone's going to need their own prayer book as we go back to shul. So if you don't yet have a prayer book, please call the office and buy one. 561-624-2223. That's 561-624-2223 to buy your own prayer book. And you can find this ritual on page 327 in the prayer book. It's a very, very interesting custom. It's called Eruv Tafshilin, and we do it pretty much in private. You do it on your own, so you never see it on a communal level. But it says over here, when a festival occurs on Thursday and Friday, like Shavuos this year, or on Friday and Shabbos, that's Shavuos this year, I'm sorry, then on the day preceding the festival, one should make an Eruv Tafshilin. This is accomplished by taking bread prepared for Shabbos, as well as a highly regarded cooked food such as meat or fish, and handing these over to another person through whom he grants a share in this Eruv to the entire community. Basically taking two foods, a challah and some other cooked food, prepared for Shabbos, and you're passing them over to another person. You may have heard of the Eruv, which is the strings around the community on Shabbos to turn the community into one domain that will allow you to carry within a certain area within that domain on Shabbos. Right? So that's a regular Eruv. That's an Eruv to carry on Shabbos. But the Eruv I'm talking about right now is the Eruv Tavshilin, which means the Eruv of cooking. Eruv means sharing, like sharing a domain on Shabbos. It's sharing the foods. What are we doing like this? Unlike Shabbos, it is permitted to cook on Yom Tov with the following caveats. Number one, we may only perform tasks that are necessary for food preparation only. And B, we cannot have, for a task that could not have been done before Yom Tov without compromising the quality of the food. So you're only allowed to cook on Yom Tov for that day. This excludes, amongst other things, turning on the flame, because this can be done before Yom Tov. So you can only cook on Yom Tov from a pre-existing flame. Number two, you can't extinguish the flame because that's not necessary for cooking the food. Can't turn it on, you can't turn it off, but you are allowed to use an existing flame. Therefore, a low stove oven flame should be left on before Yom Tov. The flame may be raised or lowered as needed while cooking. You can turn it up, you can turn it down, but you can't turn it off or on. Okay. The flame should not be adjusted after the food was removed from the fire. Now, another important caveat is that we may only cook each day sunset to sunset what we need for that day. We may not cook on Yom Tov something which we will need the next day. You can't prepare from first day of Yom Tov to the second day of Yom Tov, or from the second day of Yom Tov to Shabbos. You can only cook for that day. There's one exception. The exception is when Yom Tov falls on a Friday, then you can cook on Friday for Shabbos, because you can't cook on Shabbos. Yom Tov you can cook, but you can't cook on Shabbos. However, our sages required that the only way that you can cook on Friday for Shabbos, when Friday's a Yom Tov, is when we set aside two items of food, one cooked like fish, meat, or egg, and one baked like a challah, on Erev before the Yom Tov even begins, to be eaten on Shabbos. Performing the ritual is important, because if it is deliberately neglected, then we're not allowed to cook on Friday for Shabbos. There's two reasons for this. Number one is to press upon us the holiness of Yom Tov. If cooking on Yom Tov for Shabbos is forbidden, unless we perform a special ritual, how much more so is it forbidden to cook on Yom Tov for a weekday? So we getting, it makes us realize the importance of Shabbos and the importance of Yom Tov. When we realize that the only way that we can cook for Shabbos on Yom Tov is with a special ritual, certainly you can't cook on Yom Tov for a weekday. And also we're honoring the Shabbos by ensuring that we don't eat all the good food on Yom Tov and we leave nothing for Shabbos. By leaving food over for Shabbos, you're making it in a way that what you're doing on Yom Tov is mindful of the Shabbos. Okay? So let's just talk about how this works. What you need to do is that as the homeowner, you need to stand with someone else, with another adult. If you don't, again, you should open the prayer book on page 327 so that you'll know exactly how to do this. This can be done commonly, by the way. I do it for the whole community. When I do it in my house, I say this covers the whole community. But you should do it at home as well. You should absolutely do it at home. It's a very special mitzvah to do this Erev Tavshilin. You'll find it again in the prayer book on page 327. At some point, this is how you do it. At some point before sunset on Thursday, you open the prayer book. You hand the cooked food and the baked food, the challah and the fish or something, to another Jewish adult, preferably a non-dependent, and you say the first line of the blessing. I hereby grant to share in this Erev to anyone who wishes to participate in it and to depend upon it. So you pass it over. You're about to pass it over. You say this to the person that you're giving it to. I hereby grant to share in this Erev to anyone who wishes to participate in it and to depend on it. The other person should then lift the foods about 2 inches with the intention to acquire it not only for himself, but on behalf of all the Jews of the city. Take the food back. The homeowner takes the food back and recite the blessing in the following text on the same page. You say, "Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us concerning the mitzvah of Erev. Through this, it shall be permissible for us to bake, to cook, and to put away a dish, to preserve its heat, to kindle a light, and to prepare and do on the festival all that is necessary for the Shabbos, for us, and for all Israelites who dwell in this city." And with that, you are now making it permissible to prepare for Shabbos on Friday, even though it's the Yom Tov. The Yom Tov, you'd only allowed to be cooking for the same day, but this will allow you to mix the Shabbos into the Yom Tov by cooking only on Friday for Shabbos. This text automatically shares your Erev with anyone in your city who might have forgotten or did not know how to prepare their own Erev. It is preferable to recite it in a language that you understand. It's better to say it in English. You seal the foods properly. You set them aside to be eaten on Shabbos, preferably in Shabbos afternoon. So you should actually eat those foods, the baked food and the cooked food, on Shabbos afternoon, thus connecting the Yom Tov with the Shabbos. The Erev only allows us to cook early enough on Friday that it would be conceivable for the food to be eaten on Friday in the hypothetical scenario that many guests arrived unexpectedly. So you can't, with this Erev, you can't cook 2 minutes before Shabbos. You've got to be able to cook in a way that the food will be ready for Friday late afternoon, just in case you got a big crowd. So that way you potentially are cooking for Friday, but the food is allowed to be used on Shabbos. Right? It's a little bit out there. It's a bit of an unusual mitzvah, I know. Not something which you can really sink your teeth into. But at least I wanted you to be aware of it. I wanted you to know that this is, what we do as Jewish people. We do this mitzvah. And it's the mitzvah of Erev Tavshilin, right? We do it this year. It's not always that we get to do it. It's a mitzvah that allows us to cook on Yom Tov for Shabbos, right? Just like the Erev on Shabbos allows us to carry in one domain by making it one giant area, the Erev Tavshilin allows us to make the Yom Tov food, the Shabbos foods part of the Yom Tov. When the Shabbos foods become part of the Yom Tov, then when I'm cooking for Shabbos, I'm sort of cooking for the Yom Tov also because they're mixed. The Shabbos and the Yom Tov are connected, are combined. And that's what technically allows us to cook on Shabbos, on Yom Tov, on Friday for the following day, which is Shabbos. Okay, so that kind of combines it all. A few concluding thoughts. In ordinary years, we're excited to prepare for Yom Tov, especially if we're expecting guests. But this year, sheltering at home, we might feel a little lax about these preparations. It's therefore important to remember that these preparations are done in honor of the Yom Tov, in honor of God. And the more we prepare, the more festive our Yom Tov will be. Often when people are involved in extensive preparations for a big event, they get stressed out about getting everything done in the right time and to the desired standard. As a result, you get a little faribbled, a little problems, a little fighting going on in the house, and this has to be avoided. While it's important to ensure that everything is ready for Yom Tov, we cannot forget that our mood and disposition must also be in the Yom Tov spirit. It's one thing to clean your house, it's another thing to clean your mood, your frame of mind, to make sure there's peace in the home, not only swept floors and clean countertops. If anger and discord arise as a result of the Yom Tov preparations in the home, and food might be ready, but the angry and quarreling person is not, Yom Tov is a day of rejoicing. I see over here there's a comment coming in from Atlanta from Adam. Isn't it a non-Jewish practice to adorn the houses of worship with flowers? Yes, this is true. Many Jews do no longer keep this custom, Adam, you're right, of adorning our homes and shuls with flowers, since it was adopted by the non-Jews for their holidays. I'm not sure which non-Jewish holidays they do this at. I'm sure that they've adopted this. It sounds very familiar. So what we do is, there's certainly nothing wrong with buying flowers for your house, making sure you have beautiful flowers in your house. But there is a movement amongst Jews to say that we've shied away from decorating our shuls and homes with flowers because of this non-Jewish custom. So, yeah, the answer to your question, yes. Adam, you are correct to that point. However, you have to remember that it definitely started off as a Jewish custom, and therefore we shouldn't neglect that. At least in a fashionable style. There's nothing wrong with getting beautiful bouquets of flowers for your shul, beautiful bouquets of flowers for your home, to make sure that you feel that. So maybe, I remember when I was growing up in South Africa, there was these palm branches, and I think that's what you're talking about, but the Palm Sunday maybe you might be talking about. But they would put these palm branches around the whole shul, and it would look beautiful. So maybe that we don't really do anymore. But to make decorative and striking bouquets, I think that would be very, very appropriate to do. Okay, so we'll carry on with this tomorrow with more about the Yom Tov. We'll be doing we'll be talking about the Yom Tov candles. We'll be talking about the prayers of the Yom Tov, the meals of the Yom Tov, and the custom of studying Torah all night long. We'll be talking about the 10 Commandments, the special song that we read on Shavuos, which is Akdamus. The song, a beautiful song, which is printed in the prayer book. It's not a Chabad custom, but we'll still go through it anyways. We'll be talking about the foods of Yom Tov tomorrow and the end of Yom Tov. So lots to cover tomorrow. We'll be doing that during our regular class. And I'm just thinking that maybe I'm going to spend, because we're running out of time here, coming so close to the Yom Tov, I'm thinking that what we should do is, I'm thinking I'm just going to do a few more minutes over here, just a couple more minutes on the candles of Yom Tov, so we'll have enough time tomorrow to cover all the rest of the issues for Yom Tov. So, Yom Tov candles. We light the Yom Tov candles on Thursday night. Thursday night, candle lighting time. In our trusty Jewish calendar here, the time for lighting candles is going to be tomorrow night at before 7:51 p.m. before 7:51 p.m. Just as we usher in Shabbos with lighting of candles, so too it's obligatory to usher in Yom Tov with the lighting of candles. That's the code of Jewish law. Our sages decreed that we kindle Yom Tov candles to last into the evening. Why do we light Yom Tov candles? What's the reason for lighting the Yom Tov candles? Number one, we want the Yom Tov is supposed to be celebrated with pleasure. And if it's dark, remember the days before electricity, if it's dark, you're groping in the darkness. It's not very pleasant. We had a blackout in our home about a year ago on Friday night, minutes before Shabbos. It took them until about 6 a.m. on Saturday morning, Shabbos morning, to turn the lights back on. But it was very weird. It was very strange. My parents were there from South Africa. We were eating outside. It was very strange. There was no air. Couldn't breathe. They couldn't see. We had some candles, but it was very strange. But when you have candles, when you have light, it becomes more of a pleasurable experience, right? And that's one of the reasons for lighting candles in Yom Tov. Another one is to honor the Yom Tov, because when you have candles, you're showing honor, right? So you have special guests. You light candles. So there's pleasure and there's honor, right? When do you light the candles? Candles have to be lit before sunset. On Shabbos. Before Shabbos, you have to light the candles before dark. But in Yom Tov, you don't have to light them before dark. Remember, when Yom Tov, you're allowed to light from a pre-existing flame, right? So if you forgot to light them before Yom Tov, then you can light them after Yom Tov began. If Yom Tov falls on a Friday night, as will be in this case, the case this year, on the second night of Yom Tov, the second night of Yom Tov is Friday night, then you have to light them before sunset. You cannot light them on Shabbos after sunset, on Friday night. But on a weeknight, you are allowed to light them after dark from a pre-existing flame. So one shouldn't light the candles too early. What is considered too early? What you do is it's roughly 1.25 hours before sundown. That is the earliest legal time for sunset. Let me find out exactly this year for Palm Beach Gardens. When is the earliest time for nighttime to light candles? Loading. It's called Plaga Mincha in the Jewish calendar. In the legal Jewish calendar. So today is Wednesday, right? Tomorrow is Thursday. Candle lighting time tomorrow night is at 7:51, but the earliest nighttime is 6:46 p.m. You cannot accept Yom Tov before 6:46 p.m. What that means is 1.25 before sundown. That's legal earliest time to accept Shabbos on a Friday night. If you want to accept Shabbos early or to accept Yom Tov early, is 1.25 hours. So let's say you're going out with friends or something. You're going out, you won't be home for sunset. You're allowed to light Yom Tov candles and Shabbos candles before sundown, about 1.25 hours earlier, no more. One of the reasons is because it's not nighttime. If you're lighting 3 hours before, it's still Wednesday, right? It's still Thursday. Tomorrow it's still going to be Thursday. It's like lighting Thursday morning. It's like people that do their Pesach Seder 9 a.m. If you do a Seder 9 a.m., then it's like not the time of the Pesach, right? It's too early. In many communities, the custom is to light the candles 18 minutes before sunset. Some communities have other customs in this regard. Like our Jewish calendar is 18 minutes before sunset. Right? And that's when you're supposed to light the candles in our calendar. You're supposed to light them at the time on the calendar because that is 18 minutes before sunset. In other communities, like in Israel, they will light the candles more like 40 minutes before sunset. Let me see. In Jerusalem, for example, they'll go 40 minutes before. Not clear how this custom developed. Also in the city of Petach Tikva, for example, which was a city established by people that left from Jerusalem. They also make sure to light candles 40 minutes before sunset on Shabbos and Yom Tov. So the 18 minutes, the lighting time in our calendar, you'll see every Friday, is actually 18 minutes before sunset, which is when you're supposed to light the candles. On the second night of Yom Tov, candles are lit after nightfall, unless it is falling on a Friday night. So normally on a second night of Yom Tov, you'll light it after nightfall, which is clearly the second night of Yom Tov. But this year, when the second night of Yom Tov is on a Friday night, then you cannot light after nightfall because it's Shabbos, and on Shabbos you can't light any candles. Therefore, on the second night of Yom Tov this year, which is Friday night, you have to light it before nightfall, which is again light candles at 7:51, which is 18 minutes before nightfall. For the proper candle lighting time, you can find it at jewishgardens.com/candle lighting. jewishgardens.com/candle lighting. You'll find any location that you want. You can just type in a zip code. Who lights the candles? Let's talk about this just a few more minutes. Let's see if we can just finish this up. Who lights the candles? The mitzvah applies to men and women. However, if there's a woman over the age of bat mitzvah in the home, she lights the candles for the household. So here the woman exempt the men. When a man is living alone, he should light the candles even when there is a woman in the home. Jewish law encourages the men to actively participate in the mitzvah, for example, by preparing the tray of candlesticks like my father does. In pre-war Europe, there was a custom for girls to kindle Shabbos and Yom Tov candles in addition to those candles lit by their mothers. However, due to the war, candle shortages, and other logistical issues, this custom was discontinued. The Rebbe initiated a campaign to reinstate this practice, encouraging every Jewish girl to light her own candle, starting from the age of 3, right? As soon as they're able to do so. Typically, it's the age of 3. Our daughters, my wife has my daughters light candles from the day they're born. But typically from the age of 3, you're supposed to light your own candles, taking us back to our roots, which is the way it was before the candle shortages of pre-war Europe. Before lighting Yom Tov candles, it is a lighting candles is a de facto acceptance of the Yom Tov, after which you can't do any more activities, including striking a match. So once you made the blessing, you cannot strike a match because it's already Yom Tov, right? Therefore, young girls should light before their mothers so that the mothers can assist them. It's just like in the airplane, when you put on your own mask, then you help someone else. Here it's the other way around. First, you light with your daughters, with your dependents, making sure that they've got their candles all set, and then you light your own ones. Because once you've lit your own candles, it's already Yom Tov. Okay, I'm going to go quickly here. What should you use for the Yom Tov candles, for Shabbos and Yom Tov candles? See, okay, comments coming in over here. Helen, as a side note, there's much information in our sitters besides using it for prayers and minyan or Shabbos and holidays. By keeping my sitter where I read and keep the remote, enables me to easily pick it up and read the English like a textbook. For example, bottom of page 8 tells us when the priestly blessings was first mentioned. Lots of explanations in the back of the sitter. Okay, so Warren brings up a very, very beautiful point. What he does is just related to what we're talking about. The prayer book is a really good book to read, and never mind the prayers. You could just read it, put it in your, near your armchair or something, and read. There's a lot of good reading over here. By the way, Warren, especially in the back of the prayer book, there's lots of good stuff in the back of the prayer book, like your selected laws and customs, which you need to know with regards to prayer. By the way, a really good place to have fun is at the back of the Tehillim. If you go to the back of the Tehillim, there's really good letters and stories from the Rebbes about the importance of saying Tehillim. I encourage you very much to do that. And he's saying we also hung branches on pictures. I'm not sure what that means. Branches on pictures. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Andy, over there. Don't know. But anyways, I'm going to go quickly blitz through the blessings, the mitzvah of lighting candles, because it's important. Let's just finish it up. It is best to use wax candles or oil for this mitzvah. However, all candles manufactured today emit a clean, stable flame and are kosher for lighting. The key is not to get like some choppy, messy candle, but something which is a smooth flame. And today, all candles are really like that. The candle should be long enough to burn until nightfall, and that's important. Ideally, until after the Yom Tov dinner, because you want to eat in the light, under the light of the candles. So that's why you want the candles to burn until after nightfall, and certainly after nightfall, but even after the Yom Tov dinner. And that's why you should make sure you put in a lot of oil. The mitzvah can technically be fulfilled by lighting a single candle. However, there are various customs in this regard. On Shabbos, we light 2 candles, one for Zachor, remember, one for Shamor, which is to keep. Zachor and Shamor, the 2 mitzvahs in the 10 commandments of Shabbos, remember and guard the Shabbos. That's why we light 2 candles. But 1 candle would technically be enough. The established custom is for single girls and women to light 1 candle, and married women to light at least 2, one for them, one for their husbands. Many women have a custom of lighting an additional candle upon the birth of each child, increasing in light as the family grows. So, for example, my mom has got 9 kids. She lights 2 candles plus 9. My wife has 2 candles plus 8, right? Plus each one of our daughters lighting their own candles. Where should the candles be set? On a metal tray, right? Obviously safe, in a location that is out of reach of the young children and certainly away from flammable objects. The candle should ideally be visible from the table on which the Yom Tov meal is eaten. so that those enjoying their meal can benefit from the glow of the candles. That was the purpose, remember, of eating in a place. It is obligatory to eat the meal where there is light, so there can be oneg, there can be pleasure. How do you light the candles? It is customary to light the candles while dressed in Yom Tov clothing. It is appropriate to place some money in a charity box before lighting the Yom Tov candles to associate the mitzvah with another mitzvah, especially since you can't do the mitzvah of charity every day, tomorrow on Shabbos or on Yom Tov. That's why you give extra charity, double or triple charity for the days of Yom Tov in advance, right? You're supposed to give charity every single day. Then after you're dressed in Yom Tov clothing and you gave your charity, now what you want to do is you want to light the candles. Strike the match, light the candle. On the second day of Yom Tov, you don't strike a match. The second day of Yom Tov, you light the candles from a pre-existing flame. That's why you'll take a yahrzeit candle. Tomorrow night, you'll light a yahrzeit candle, a 24-hour candle, so that Friday night, you'll have a candle, a pre-existing flame from which to light the candles. So you'll light a 24-hour candle before Yom Tov to ensure that you have a pre-existing flame for this purpose. Unless you got the gas on or something, for cooking on Friday, you can use the flame from the gas as well. Do not extinguish the match. You can't extinguish it. Let it burn down in the metal tray upon which the candles are standing, because once you lit the candle, it's already Yom Tov, so you can't turn it off, right? So once you lit the candle, you put it down and let it burn out itself. Circle the hands over the flames and bring it towards yourself 3 times, like this. The reason for circular motion covering the eyes is mysterious. In fact, it delays the important custom of covering the eyes, which is supposed to happen right after lighting. You're supposed to cover your eyes right after lighting. The reason you cover your eyes, by the way, is because you want to make the blessing adjacent to the lighting. But you can't make the blessing adjacent to the lighting, because once you made the blessing, it's already Shabbos, it's already Yom Tov. So you can't light the candle after the blessing. That's why you light the candles first and then you make the blessing, but you cover your eyes right away because you don't want to see the light. So that right after the blessing, you see the light, and now you're making the adjacent to the blessing, you're making the benefiting from the light. So that you weren't benefiting from the light before the blessing, right? That way you're making the blessing adjacent to the deed. The creed is coming right adjacent to the deed, right? That's how every mitzvah works. You make the blessing, you right away eat the bread. And you right away drink the wine. You can't make a separation. So here we've got a technical problem, because once you've made the blessing, you can't light anymore. That's why you light first, then you make the blessing, cover your eyes, and after the blessing, you open your eyes, you enjoy the light. So why would we delay the covering of the eyes by doing the circular motion? The Baal Shem Tov explains that because women daven, when covering their eyes, it became popular to wave their hands upwards, in as much as this gesture is associated in Torah with earnest prayer, like it's some sort of an earnest prayer gesture. Another explanation is that the purpose of this gesture is to signify the acceptance of Shabbos. My favorite explanation is that we draw our hands inward. And the reason that we draw our hands inward is because the rest of Shabbos and the resting of Yom Tov isn't merely the cessation of labor, the cessation of work. You don't rest when you simply stop working. You rest when you connect with the power of your neshama, of your soul. When you listen to the voice and nurture the needs of your soul through Torah study, through prayer, through being more spiritually engaged on Shabbos and Yom Tov. And that's why we go 3 times inwards, as if to indicate that the week is over, yes, but for me to experience the rest of Shabbos, I need to draw inwards. That's how I explain it. Okay. Now, after you've done the 3 times, you now circle your hands over the flames toward yourself 3 times. You cover your eyes with your hands, and you recite the 2 blessings. There's 2 blessings. Let's find those blessings in the prayer book. The blessing of Shabbos candles. You will find the blessings of Shabbos candles here in the prayer book, on page 152. Page 152 in the prayer book, you'll see the blessing for Shabbos, and there's 2 blessings for the eve of a festival. One is Lahadlik Ner Shel Yom Tov, and the second one is Lahadlik Ner. The second one is Shechianu V'Kiyamanu V'Giyanu L'Zman Hazeh. When it's Shabbos and Yom Tov, which is the second night of Yom Tov this year, you'll say Asher Kiddeshanu Zetav Tzivanu Lahadlik Ner Shel Shabbos V'Shel Yom Tov and Shechianu. Right? So that's on page 152 in the prayer book. we said that we recited the second blessing, Shechianu, to thank God for the opportunity to perform the unusual mitzvah of lighting candles for Shavuos. While we get to perform the mitzvah of lighting Shabbos candles every week, it's been a year almost since the last time we lit the Shavuos candles. And this evinces so much excitement that we bless God for the opportunity, Shechianu, of this special mitzvah. Normally, a blessing is recited before the performance of a mitzvah. However, in this case, the blessing is recited after the candle is lit, like I said, because once the blessing is recited, it's considered as if we've already accepted Yom Tov at this point, and you can no longer light a candle. By covering our eyes immediately after lighting the candles, we delay the benefiting from the light until after reciting the blessing, which in a certain sense satisfies the requirements that the blessing must precede the mitzvah. So right after the blessing, you're enjoying the light. That's why you're covering your eyes. While your eyes are still covered, take a moment to pray silently. Very powerful moment for whatever your heart desires. At this moment, while immersed in the mitzvah of lighting the Yom Tov candles, it's an auspicious time for prayer. Very, very special time for women, especially husbands, also children. Your eyes are covered. It's the holiness of Shabbos. You're out of the mundane of the week. You're in the twilight zone. It's the most beautiful, beautiful moment to pour your heart out before God in prayer. Talk to God in your own language. Go for it during the time of the lighting of the candles. You can dive into God anytime, but this is especially a good time, especially propitious time. It is customary to use the special time to beseech God for children who will be illuminated by the radiance of Torah, appropriate to the theme of the candles, and open your eyes. You say Chag Sameach, Good Yom Tov to all who are present. And with that, I'm going to conclude today's Torah study session, part one of the Shavuos introduction. Tomorrow, we'll be able to finish, I think, everything else that we need to know about Shavuos. I do want to address the questions. Adam Trust, did anything significant take place on Mount Sinai on the 4th of Sivan today, just 2 days before receiving the Torah? Yeah, these are the 3 days of boundary. Shloshes Yemei HaGabala begins today. The 3 days of boundary when they had to spiritually prepare themselves for Shavuos, and they had to separate from their wives, they had to separate themselves, prepare themselves spiritually for the holiness, the sanctity of the receiving of the Torah. In Jewish law, these 3 days before Shavuos are considered very, very holy days. What else? Andy, we also hung branches and pictures. I think what you meant is Shavuos custom. You said flowers. We did branches in Romania. Okay, good. Oh, you're talking about Romania, did branches. Okay, very good. I think we also did branches in South Africa. Helen, just like saying the Omer, there's a proper way of saying it. Timing is important. That's right. Timing is very important. It's key, just like an email. The letters are precise, just like a phone number. The digits are precise. So too, the timing of a mitzvah is critical. And with that, friends, I'm going to end up over here. I want to thank everybody for joining me here this morning. I do want to tell you, though, that there's a very special presentation happening today at 2:45 p.m. Khan and I both will be doing a live presentation on youtube.com/Jewish Gardens, as well as on facebook.com/Jewish Gardens. We'll be having an unorthodox review, a review of the Netflix doco, the movie, whatever. Myths and misconceptions of observant Jewish life as depicted on the big screen. Please send us your questions to rabbi@jewishgardens.com. We'll be responding to your questions. We've already received a lot of questions. Send us your questions to rabbi@jewishgardens.com about the movie that you want us to talk about. And we'll be doing that today at 2:45 at youtube.com/Jewish Gardens, facebook.com/Jewish Gardens. Don't forget, Corey's giving a class today on Tehillim and Hebrew reading at 11:30 on Zoom. That's jewishgardens.com/Zoom at 11:30 today with Corey Tehillim. And also, I want you to know, thank you to Terry Zweig for dedicating today's Torah study in honor of her mother's birthday, 81st birthday, Gloria Brand. And if you'd like to dedicate a day of Torah study, a week or a month of Torah study, you can do so at jewishgardens.com/donate. Or by calling the office at 624-2223. If you haven't done so already, please buy your own prayer book. You'll be needing it for shul services. That you can do that at the office at 624-2223. Over and out. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been a pleasure studying with you today. Shalom.